Hi, I am Joy Berkheimer, licensed marriage and family therapist and life coach. And I'm going to be sharing some tips with you in order for us to get through this really difficult time we're having right now. It's something that I would definitely consider to be a crisis and a huge shift in our communities. So let's talk about how to get through our time. So, what I want you to know is to know how to flow through the coronavirus period, through a lot of the mandates that have happened, right? A lot of restrictions are going on. People are having to figure out how to adjust to something that a lot of us have not lived through anything similar to this. If you are in Florida, we've lived through hurricanes, and it's a lot of preparation that comes with that. However, it feels a little less restricting when it's an act of God, opposed to others telling us what it is that we need to do and where we need to be. And it's just being afraid of putting ourselves at risk with our health and things like that. But I want us to understand how to flow through these times of high stress, because I know that we can feel like we want to have control over everything. And when we feel out of control, when we feel a little bit powerless, we get to a space of feeling like we are absolutely stuck. That's not the case. We're not stuck. Things happen to us, and it's all about how we respond to the things that happen. We do have a lot of strengths. We have a lot of resources. There's a lot of things around us and in us that we don't realize. And I want you to be able to tap into everything that you have available inside and outside to manage whatever is happening around you. Okay. So let's have the tools for you to get your power back. All right. So I'm going to show you how to F.L.O.W flow. And we're going to start with the F for these tips. And the F would be finding your freedom. Okay, how do you find freedom when you feel restricted? So do what makes you feel centered and at peace. That's not anything that anyone can take away from you. I had a client talk about how anxious she was that she wasn't able to get out and do her regular practice of going to yoga, doing the physical practice of yoga, but also the mantras, the meditations, all that comes with the practice. Okay, and when we tapped into it and we were being real about it, like, why is it that you can't go out on your deck or your patio or your backyard, take a blanket? You're still allowed to connect with the sun, to connect with nature, and to connect with self. Nothing is stopping you from doing the mantras or the prayers, the affirmations that you usually do when you go to yoga. Yes, we cannot connect right now with other people in the sense of community, but you can commune with self and your higher self and your higher power when you do things like this. So this is how you still maintain freedom in being grounded and having peace, right? So take hold of those routines that you used to have and duplicate them at home. That is absolutely possible. Remember what it is that's easy to shift from there to here. A lot of us can't go to the gym. My gym is actually allowing people to do routines online, or you can stream them on your television. That's always been available. We don't think about it, especially those of us that are gym rats and used to getting out there. And it's the experience of getting in our car, going somewhere different. Well, so now is time to make your space here the somewhere else. Is there a space in your home that you can make your Zen space, that you can kind of make it feel like it is a little bit different than what it usually is, and it's a safe space? It's somewhere that you can really connect, you can slow down, because anxiety, I know, is very high, right? So how do I make my space a Zen space if I can't leave the house? There are still a couple of things that we are able to get to during the day. If you need to go somewhere and get a picture to hang on your wall, if you need to get a rug that you meditate on, or a blanket, if you need to get whatever it is, crystals, books, whatever is going to make your corner of the house comfortable, do that. Create your Zen space, because we were always going somewhere else, but for the time being, that somewhere has to be here, and that's all right. That also includes working, right? I know when I had a desk at my office long ago, I had all the things on my desk that made my day go by a little bit easier. So if you're working from home, how do you create a space that brings that same energy of I'm in it, I'm aligned, and I'm ready to go, right? Make that space here. Also, do not feel stripped from communication from other people. We still need community. We're still human beings, and at a core level, we all want to be able to connect. We have all this technology available to us. You can Zoom, you can FaceTime, you can Google Duo. You can even just play games with your friends, right? There's, what is it? When you have an iPhone, it's Words with Friends. Like, you can do things like that. You can just talk to people that you haven't talked to in a long time. Like, when's the last time you sat down and you talked to one of your girlfriends from way back when? for a couple of hours, right? We're always in this rat race, like, okay, well, I can talk to you on the way to work. I have 20 minutes or 30 minutes while I'm sitting in traffic before I get to work, but that's it. And then that has to be dedicated to a particular person, maybe, right? But you may have your time let up to have the freedom to be able to still connect with people that have been lost in all of our busy times. So take advantage of this. Don't feel that everything is restricted and controlled. You still have freedom in this situation. So if we go to the L of flow, that is going to be lean in. Right now is definitely a serious time of slowing down and focusing on the things that maybe you've been putting aside, maybe even the people that you've been putting aside, right? Cultivating certain relationships. This is the time for you to be able to maybe flourish in those situations. Anyone dating right now and in the beginning of it, like how crazy is it that you would just be starting dating someone and then we have this huge thing going on? Well, here's an opportunity maybe to communicate with the person and not have text messages sitting out there in limbo land forever. Or maybe this is the time to focus on reconnecting with someone who lives right in your house that you've been walking by every day. But it's also the time to create things that you've been putting aside. Maybe there's a project you've been wanting to work on in the house, or a project personally for yourself. You wanted to research, you wanted to read. If you're looking at this video right now, you have access to the internet. You have access to things to connect, to grow your knowledge base that's going to help you down the road. It's 2020 anyway. This is the year of focus and vision. So gear up and get into it, because the universe has slowed things down enough for us to be able to do that, right? So work on the things that you have wanted to create, but you've been too distracted to do that. Pay attention to the support that you undervalue. Again, this is talking about focusing, right? And we can focus in on having gratitude for the relationships that we've had all along, right? So pay attention to people that maybe have been pushed aside, have been ignored, again, because of time. And now this time can be quality time. I know now that I'm working from home, I'm spending way more quality time with people in my house because we're home together. And I didn't realize how many hours that were missed because we're running around doing all these things and all these errands that now have kind of been limited, or we have to do them within a certain amount of time. So that leaves us time to really commune with each other at the end of the day, way more than before. And it's a beautiful thing to know the things that I loved about you before are still here and I'm getting to see them again. I also know that you annoy me, but I know that I'm able to manage it. And I want to let you know that you are valued for sticking in this crisis with me, right? Lay down the foundation for a crisis-proof situation. So if you have a business that has been really affected by this, or you have a job, a field or career interest that's been really affected, or even the way that your kids go to school, things like that, set up a crisis-proof situation now so that when something like this happens in the future, you are prepared for it. Maybe this was the push that you needed to actually shift so you could have more flexibility and you could have more freedom. A lot of us who have been working in the office are figuring out that you can now work remotely for jobs that people swore that could never happen, right? So it's time to be creative and look at the things that you can do differently that will set you up for whatever unfolds in the future. So let's move to the O of flow, and that would be to overcome the narrative that you're working with. Are you working with a narrative that no longer serves you? What tape are you playing? And is it time to change that tape? There has been so much information put out there that has started a frenzy. You know, there's one half of the country who's like, this isn't a big deal at all. This is a hoax. This is nothing. And the other half is like, oh my gosh, it's over, right? We're all going to die. We have to disconnect from everybody because this is the worst thing that has ever happened. Okay. So get somewhere in the middle. Yeah. It's a reality that these are actually happening. There is a crisis happening. There is a virus that is out there, right? We have a lot of unknowns, and usually an anxious narrative is going to be a fearful narrative, right? I don't know what's going to happen, but as a matter of fact, I think all these terrible things are going to happen. We don't have to put energy into imagining the worst case scenario. Like, be in this moment right now and change the narrative to looking at what you do have around you, not that's falling apart, but what's actually working. Where are you now compared to where you were before? Have there been other things that you've survived and you're now here? And are you even better than you were before? So look at the narrative that way. Look at how powerful you've been in the past, how powerful resources around you have been, how people have come together in community, and why can't that happen again? I look at where things have been and I say, oh my goodness, this has happened again and again and again in terms of my success, in terms of evolving, in terms of being able to manage new stress. And I get excited about that. And I say, well, if it's happened 20 times before, why wouldn't it happen now? This too shall pass, guys. It will pass. This is not going to stay the same, but we just have to figure out how to get through it, how to flow through it, and hopefully come out on the other side of it better than we were before. Like I was talking about leaning in, if you're leaning into your creativity, if you actually put that quality time into it, then hopefully you will come out with more ideas and a better way of going forward with your life in general. So take advantage of this time, change the narrative that you have. Understand that your internal narrative is very powerful because the things that we think actually do power our emotions. Our thoughts are the things that create either joy or dread. Absolutely. Panic attacks come on because first it started with a thought that you didn't even realize that you were having. And then our emotions kind of follow that. And then we have physiological responses to it. So they are so powerful. But what's also powerful are the words that we speak to other people, the words that we speak to our kids, our friends. When we're speaking words of just fear and dread and doom, these are the things that we're manifesting, right? You want to be careful about what you're putting out into the universe, what energy you're putting out there. Yes, first manage your internal dialogue and your narrative so that the external will be different and be better. But why speak fear and anxiety into other people, into other situations, right? You can control what it is that you're doing and you're saying and how you're responding to this. So be the person who responds with some love and some positivity, and not a mindset of scarcity, but a mindset of we're going to get through this and we're going to continue to be abundant because we have, right? So be careful what you're saying to other people and what you're pouring into the situation. So the last of our flow would be the W. So win at the game of change. The one thing in life that's guaranteed, always, 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 is change. Nothing will ever stay the same. And it can evolve to be something better, and it can be evolve to be something that you feel like doesn't work for you, right? But then it'll change again. So if you want to win at this game of change, we have to learn to roll with the punches. Our resiliency is so important. Find out about how resilient you are. You are going to be able to see different things with different people, how people are responding to the situation. The way that someone responds in a crisis really is a show of a lot of what is inside of them, and it can shift. Even if your first response was fear, you can recognize that that's what you're responding with, and you can shift it. You can take a hold of it, right? This situation does not have to be more powerful than you, right? There are things put in place so that we can feel protected and we can feel safe. And we are actually the ones choosing to make decisions to socially distance ourselves because we're in control of our health, right? We figured out the things that are going to keep us safer, that are going to minimize the spread of things. And we are resilient enough to be able to do those things for ourselves, protect ourselves, and protect our community, right? We will be able to get through this. There's more and more support coming through. Understand that you are not alone in this, but you are resilient enough to even help other people get through it, right? Because if you're speaking a positive narrative, if you're in a place of gratitude, if you're in a place and focusing on what it is that you have instead of what you don't have, right? You are in a better position to be resilient for others. If you are low on it, now is the time to be rooted in your faith. Guys, all the work that I do, it always starts with the foundation of whatever your faith is. This isn't about religion, but this is about you believing in something greater than yourself, you believing in a why or a how. How do things evolve? Why do they evolve? What is the meaning of this situation? Take the time to think about, as it aligns with your faith, what is the meaning of this? What is to come of this? A part of my belief system and faith would be that things are always working in the background for my highest good. And I believe that for all my clients and everyone that I see and I interact with, things are working out in the background for our highest good. We focus so much, again, on what's right in front of us, what's falling apart, and not all the things on the outside that are maneuvering themselves to create us into something that we are supposed to be, okay? So you need to get rooted in this faith, because this is something that will also minimize your anxiety. Because if you feel like you're being pulled towards something, you are being guided, even in the midst of chaos, you will be much more better off through the situation. And again, you can apply these same thoughts, the same mindset to any new crisis that comes up. Decisions have to be made, right? So in the game of change, you do need to make decisions about which way you're going to go. When you are doing it, if you want to win at this, you want to recognize your motivation for your decisions. Are you making decisions out of fear? Are you making out of love? Most of the time, if a decision is made out of fear, it's made carelessly, right? It's made to maybe give you a solution for the immediate, but doesn't pay attention to what the long-term ramifications of that decision is going to be. Is it going to have you disconnected from other people? A lot of times when we're working off of fear, we're very agitated, we can be angry, we're pushing others aside. That's not what you want to do, especially not in a time like this. You want to be coming from a space of love. Am I making a decision that is loving towards myself, that is loving towards others? Am I not going to work when I don't feel good because I'm loving other people, right? Or am I going to work even though I'm sick because I'm afraid of what's going to happen financially? You want to consider all these things, but the basis of your decision making should be love. How are you responding to the situation when you're making decisions? Be very mindful of that. And so what I also have for us is a bonus tip outside of flow, and that is, don't take everything so seriously, guys. You have this time. We're here. We're bundled up. It doesn't have to be a time of angst, right? We can have a time of relaxing. We can laugh with each other. I don't know how many memes are going around about this thing, but at least some people are taking a minute to make fun of something that we don't really have control over. We kind of have to roll with it. And if you're going to roll with it, you might as well roll with it with a lot of laughter and a lot of love with other people, with your pets, with your kids, whatever it is that helps you kind of breathe a minute, have some fun, take a minute to just be in this moment, because this is really all we have. The only thing that's ever real is what's happening right in this moment. Things are changing so rapidly and we're trying to keep up with it. But what you want to do, instead of being in the rat race of moving back and forth and like what's going to happen next, is you want to flow, okay? You want to find your freedom. You want to lean in. You want to overcome the narrative that's no longer working for you, and you want to win at the game of change. So again, this is Joy with Renew Yourself with Joy, and I hope you enjoyed the tips that I had for you to get through this time of crisis. Thanks, guys.